I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Friday night edition of Sports Talk Media Network. Glad to have you with us. Hope everything is going well where you are in South Carolina. Be careful out there. Here in Columbia, rainy, overcast. Got one of those clouds hanging over Columbia, kind of like the movie Independence Day, where the Martians or the invaders were hanging over the big cities with the big spaceships and everything. That's kind of what we got hanging over Columbia. Just a big dark cloud waiting to cut loose. But this weekend's supposed to be pretty nice. A little chilly, but I think it's going to clear up. Get ready for some great professional college basketball, as the professional college basketball players from South Carolina will host their counterparts from Tennessee, and the Clemson professional players will be heading to Atlanta to take on their counterparts from Georgia Tech. We've got the Iceman cometh.
Yes.
Chris Bergen from icy, snowy, wintry Texas. You guys down there got the bulk of this storm.
It was amazing yesterday, Phil. We got into we're in San Marcos, Texas now. Coastal takes on Texas State tomorrow. Actually, in a doubleheader. The women's team is flying out here today to play tomorrow afternoon, and then the men's game to follow. But we got into Dallas because Coastal was supposed to play UT Arlington last night, and we got into Dallas. And about the time we got off the airplane, about 3:30, 4 o'clock Central Time, the coaching staff got a call from UTA that they were shutting down the campus and the game would be canceled. So we flew 1,000 miles thereabouts to spend the night in Arlington. And we woke up Thursday to about, an inch or two of sleet, then followed by some heavy, heavy snow. And then once it stops, we figured, hey, no reason to hang out in Arlington any longer. So we left there about 2:30 Central Time yesterday afternoon and slid our way all the way down here to San Marcos, which, if you're not familiar with Texas geography, understandable, it's a big state. It is south of Austin, in between Austin and San Antonio. Normally takes about 3.5 hours to drive that on a normal day. Took us about 6 yesterday. But I give Greg, our bus driver, tremendous props. He did, with people slipping and sliding around him all over the place. He kept it between the white lines yesterday and did a terrific job. He was joking, though, when we finally got here. He said, I'm going for a massage because I couldn't use my cruise control, so my calf muscles have tightened up. So, yeah, it was an interesting trip, to say the least. But hopefully Coastal will get to play some basketball tomorrow night.
And no Cliff Ellis. He's still in the COVID protocol. He picked a good time to be out to miss that trip.
No doubt, and certainly looking forward to getting Coach back. But this is the second consecutive weekend that he's missed to COVID protocol. Had never missed any games in his career. Now tomorrow will be his third. Associate head coach Benny Moss will guide the team again tomorrow against one of the top defensive teams in the Sun Belt, and actually ranked inside the top 50 nationally in Texas State, allowing just about 63 points a game. So possessions will certainly be at a premium tomorrow.
All right, and we'll get into basketball here in just a little bit. South Carolina, Tennessee. I think this is a crossroads game for South Carolina and Frank Martin, because the Gamecocks are teetering on falling into the abyss as far as this basketball season is concerned, or taking a major step up and having something to say about having a really big year. They're 13-8, 4-5 in the SEC, coming off a dreadful performance at Mississippi State, where they did nothing right. They get a really good Tennessee team, 13 in the net, a team that handled them by 20 in Knoxville earlier in the year. Josh Gray has a broken hand. It'll be wrapped in a soft cast, so I guess he's going to try and play. Derek Scott, play-by-play announcer for the Gamecocks, said that in Charleston this morning on a show down there. And that's not a major factor for the Gamecocks. I mean, Gray gives them maybe 10, 15 minutes per game. But that being said, where they are 13-8 and 4-5 in the league, with Tennessee coming up in Columbia, followed by Kentucky early next week. I mean, this is a chance. Win these two games, and of course, everything becomes rosy. Now, you do go on the road to Georgia, very winnable, and a road game at Ole Miss to follow. Not automatic, but, a chance down there, but I wouldn't put it in the automatic category. And I wouldn't put Georgia either. No road game, but I think they got a decent chance to beat Georgia on the road. But beat Tennessee, beat Kentucky, and all of a sudden there's a rainbow hanging over you. Lose these two games, and especially lose them and not be competitive, then I think people really start to think again about Frank Martin's future at South Carolina, which, of course, became such a topic of conversation the end of last year and into the offseason, because you'll be looking at another year of no postseason in all likelihood. And, just one postseason trip in your entire time at South Carolina. When does the administration at South Carolina have to look at that and go, Frank's a great guy. He's done a lot of wonderful things for us, but this is not what we are getting. We're not getting the bang for our buck here, because he makes $3 million a year, and he's taken the Gamecocks to one NCAA tournament. It was a glorious run that one time, but come on. I think the memory of that is somewhat faded here 5 years after the fact.
Thought you brought up a really interesting point, and I know you were just giving sort of the lay of the land in Columbia, but when you talked about a big dark cloud hanging over Columbia today, I am fearful that is a precursor of what may happen tomorrow. Tennessee is such an awful matchup for South Carolina because of how well they play defensively, Phil. The amount of turnovers they force, they're one of the top teams in the country, 12th nationally. They force about 18 turnovers a game. We don't have to tell anybody how bad South Carolina is at protecting the basketball. And for the first time, and this was really a head-scratcher for me, first time since that Final Four run, that Carolina's back on CBS national television for a home game. I found it odd that CBS has picked this game to televise tomorrow. I don't know if that's good. Maybe that fires the Gamecocks up, and certainly you would hope that would fire the fan base up to get in there and get behind that team. Or does it make Tennessee think, all right, we'll show what we're made of. Go on the road and win a nationally televised game in the conference and look good in doing so. Maybe we can impress some people and move up the rankings. I fear this is a bad setup for tomorrow for USC at 1 o'clock. We'll see.
Tennessee comes in with a record of 15-6, and they are 6-3 in the SEC. I mentioned their net is 13. They are coming off a win over Texas A&M by 10. Prior to, they lost at Texas by a point. Then they had a 3-game winning streak before that. They won at Vandy, they beat LSU, and they beat Florida. They got hammered by Kentucky, 107-79. Kentucky now, they've sort of taken it to another level. They're kind of playing like Kentucky is supposed to play. But you're right. This is a tough matchup because Tennessee will go 6'6", 6'8", 7 foot. And then the backcourt is 6'3" and 6 foot. They're very good defensively. They shoot the ball better than South Carolina does. The Gamecocks are still very poor in the categories of free throw shooting, three-point shooting, and protecting the basketball and keeping their hands to themselves as far as the fouling situation is concerned. So big game for South Carolina. Crossroad 2 games coming up as I see it for the Gamecocks and Frank Martin, because it's getting late now, and lose these 2 games, you're 13-10, you're 4-7 in league play, and then the rest of the way, the wins will be hard to come by, because except for Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, Alabama, Missouri, and Auburn is how they finish. So there's nothing easy. There's nothing easy there in those final games for the Gamecocks going into the SEC tournament. Clemson goes to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, not a good team. Clemson, the record is very average, but they got a nice win over Florida State last time out. They're going to be without Hunter Tyson, Chris, and that's a big blow for them. He does, he's not flashy by any means, but he does a lot of those little things that help you win ball games. Grab a rebound, run the floor, hit a big shot, hit a free throw. He will certainly be missed in their lineup tomorrow afternoon.
I caught you guys chatting about this yesterday on the ride down here, and I thought Pat brought up some excellent points about what Hunter Tyson brings to the table and some of the little things that he does. And you guys actually talked about him as the heartbeat of that basketball team. And I think Pat was right. This is a game, Clemson, I don't care whether Georgia Tech is really, really good or really, really bad. They have got to win tomorrow because you look at that stretch coming up and you get North Carolina, then you get Duke, you get Notre Dame, and then you get Florida State on the road. They're in a situation much like South Carolina, Phil. If they can't get a win tomorrow, realistically, they're looking at the possibility of dropping as many as 5 games in a row. And then what does Louisville bring to the table when you see them in a couple of weeks? So tomorrow's game, even minus Hunter Tyson for the Tigers, absolute must win for them.
Yeah. Brad Brownell's had good success against Georgia Tech. This will be the 25th matchup. He's won 17. This is not a real good Georgia Tech team, though they do have an excellent individual player who is the ACC's second leading scorer. One of their guards can really light it up. He averages about 19 points per game. So it's really a 2-man offensive team for Georgia Tech. I'm talking about Michael DeVoe.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6'5" guard. He's averaging 19 points per game, and he's excellent. And then you've got Jordan Usher, 6'7" forward, who's averaging 15 a game. Outside of that, they don't have a lot of offensive production. They've got a little bit here and there. But this is a game you have to be careful that somebody you don't expect rises up and has a huge game, especially at home in Atlanta. So those are those games that we're going to keep an eye on tomorrow, of course, and Chris's game down there. We'll touch on the other games around the SEC and the ACC and around the state as well. If you want to join us on the program, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Since 2002, more than $160 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund SC Hope scholarships for the state's college-bound students. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at seducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. We'll have Mike Morgan tonight. He was off last night. Mike will be with us tonight at 6:35. Get his thoughts as he makes the rounds of the SEC basketball heading down the stretch of the regular season. Then more basketball from a national perspective. Our basketball insider and outsider, Brian Ralph. Ralphie on Round Ball at 7:05. No George Bryan tonight. We're letting George play through. He's got wifey duties tonight. I think they're going out to some little concert or something. So he's
nice.
He's off the tee box tonight. And but we have a suitable replacement. You know, we're going racing this weekend in Los Angeles. It's the Clash. It's the Busch Clash or the Clash in the LA Coliseum. I'm going to watch just because this is going to be so unique. Should be a lot of fun. Jeff Owens returns to Sports Talk in the Fast Lane tonight to get us set for the weekend of NASCAR, or the one night of NASCAR, and then they shift to Daytona, of course, later on this month, and we'll be back in at full speed with our NASCAR coverage with Jeff on Friday night and Kerry Tharp on Tuesday. Now, if you think you've had a bad day, just be glad your name isn't Auburn, because, I mean, that place has just become complete chaos. And here we are a couple of days removed from National Signing Day. This is a time where you should be feeling really good about things and enjoying a few days of rest and starting to look ahead to your spring practice and all that, Chris. And it's pure chaos at Auburn. You've got players who have left, who are making accusations about Brian Harsin. You've got players who are there or who recently graduated, who played for him, who are disputing it. You've got two different sides to a story here. You've got a new president. You've got a board of trustees sticking its head in there once again. You've got a great deal of doubt right now about Harsin's tenure at Auburn moving forward here within the next few days, I would say.
If some of the accusations, even a smidge of the accusations that have come out about he and one of his female staff members are anywhere close to accurate, and Auburn named a new president today, Christopher Roberts. Don't know when he takes over, but that's not really how you want to introduce yourself to your new boss, is it? You don't want to have this hovering around you when a new president steps on campus. And also with the defections you talked about, I saw a fascinating stat today, Phil, and I haven't had a chance to research it further, but it comes from a pretty accurate source, or somebody I think we would believe. They've had, I want to say Auburn has had 21 head football coaches in their history. If Brian Harsin is cut loose and kicked to the curb after this season, he would be the 10th, if I'm not mistaken, the 10th coach at Auburn to be fired or let go after one season there. It's almost unbelievable that you would have that many coaches that could not last more than a year on the Plains.
That is. They are, well, they're so, you say impatient, but I mean, we all know that Auburn has one of the strangest arrangements for their football program compared to anybody else in the country. I mean, I know there's schools around the country that have individuals who pull the strings for the football program. You know, big money giver, whether it's somebody who's on the board or a political figure. But, you know, for as long as I can remember, there's always been a guy down there in Auburn who has made the call on what's going to happen there with that football program when it comes to coaches and things like that. And, you know, I don't know if he is, I'm not even sure he's still alive. I can't even remember his name, but it was an individual, big money man. I think it was the guy who started the company as a Yellowwood.
Yes,
down in
Alabama.
Right.
I think you're exactly right.
I can't even think of his name, but he was renowned for being a guy that had his hands all over the Auburn football program, usually in bad ways or ways that suited him, but didn't suit everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He took care of his desires and wishes with the program because he gave them such big time money, and they had to all bend to his wishes. So I don't know if that's part of it or who you believe in this particular case. It's a he said kind of deal, at least right now, until somebody can come up with some concrete evidence of some wrongdoing. What are you going to do? Does somebody have some concrete evidence here besides just feelings being hurt by some players who felt like they were roughed up, yelled at, treated poorly, whatever the case may be? Now, the accusation you're bringing up, I mean, that's where you need some hard evidence there. And if that's true, then he's out of a job and he's probably out of college coaching, for good. But you better have some solid proof on that besides just somebody's word of mouth, Pat.
Well, guys, let's just look from outside looking in at the last 7 weeks for Auburn football since the early signing period. They lost their bowl game to Houston, completing their first losing season since 2012. They lost defensive line coach Nick Eason, who went to Clemson, who also took one of their top recruits, Caden Story, along with him to Clemson. They lost defensive coordinator Derek Mason to Oklahoma State, lost offensive coordinator Austin Davis, who'd only been there, 43 days, I think was the exact number after they hired him. And now this week on National Signing Day, they did not add a single recruit. All 18 of their incoming freshmen signed back in December. Mm-hmm. So that also, I mean, that's just going in the wrong direction. And then you factor in a little bit more information on this young woman. She was a cheerleader at Boise State, where he was the previous head coach, who then coincidentally, hint, hint, wink, wink, followed him to Auburn and became an assistant coach on the football staff. I mean, that's just, I'm with you.
She became an assistant coach.
Correct.
An assistant coach.
If I'm seeing this correct, she's a graduate assistant on their football.
What position does she teach? I mean, coach.
Oh, gosh.
Ouch.
Not sure we can say that.
What position does she coach? She coaches what position? I mean, but yeah, what does she coach? Tight ends? Or
I don't know. This just reminds me
that
a lot
would be
of Bobby
my guess.
Petrino
My guess
at
is she
Arkansas.
coaches tight ends. What is her position on the staff? Seriously, she a GA?
All I've been able to find is GA. I'll try to find something more specific. But point being, that's about as bad of a 7 weeks as you can have. And maybe Bruce Pearl's right. Auburn is turning into a basketball school.
Well,
and they paid him 50-something. Can you believe they paid him $50-something million, Bruce Pearl?
No. But
that's his new contract, and it was $50-something million.
Well, they've proven they don't care about anything but winning on the basketball side when they brought him in to begin with. So paying him an outrageous salary, maybe he's worth it at this point in time if you're going to ignore everything else in his background. But back to football for a moment and talking about the amount of turmoil and change and the board of trustees sort of meddling in and everything that goes on at Auburn. How much, Phil, do you believe this is sort of little brother syndrome? That they have to deal with a program in their own state whom they absolutely hate with a white-hot hate that wins all the time, wins national championships all the time. How much do you believe their lack of patience is driven more so from the standpoint that, we can handle a 6 and 7 year every now and then, but we can't because Nick Saban keeps winning national championships at Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, look, at one time, Auburn was the king of that state. When Pat Dye was there, and Alabama was going through its time after Stallings. Of course, there was Bryant, and then there was Perkins, but then Stallings came back and restored it. But then DuBose came in and killed it. There was a time there with Pat Dye, and they had all those great players, of course, at Auburn, that they were kind of the kings of Alabama there for a while. So they've proved that they can do it. But right now, of course, they're not even hardly close. I mean, they beat Alabama on the kick six. And but didn't they beat Alabama just more recently than that? Or was that the last time that they beat Alabama on the kick six? I thought there was another time between now and then that they beat Alabama.
2 or 3 years ago, they knocked them off.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
looking that up.
Looks like Auburn won in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they did. So here is some work from Pete Thimmel. So he writes that the AD at Auburn, Alan Green, met with 7 or 8 veteran players tonight to address Harsin's future. He says he delivered a simple message: stay the course, control what you can control, as there's no clarity. Team operating as normal. He also wrote earlier, Harsin's future, worth noting that he's owed $18.3 million of his remaining salary. Of that money, half of that would be due in 30 days, 9.15. The other half in quarterly payments over the next year, starting July 15th. Auburn owed Gus Malzahn nearly $21.5 million when they fired him in December. So if they fire him without cause, they would be paying off $40 million to coaches in a 14-month span. Of course, now, they're trying to disassociate and separate and divorce, they're going to try and come up with something with cause that they can hang on him to save that money. But my goodness, $40 million paid out to a couple of coaches? It's crazy.
Is it hard to fathom, though, that they would put a young lady's sort of reputation in jeopardy just to try and get out of having to pay that kind of severance pay?
Well, who is floating that out there?
You can go through numerous sources. I don't know how many of them are accurate sources that initially reported it. Some of the Auburn blogs and guys who covered that program pretty closely, they've kind of tried to stay away from that sort of salacious talk. But at least they've hit on it because it appears, Phil, where there's smoke, there's at least a little bit of a flame. Now, whether or not that proves to be anything, but I mean, would you put it past anybody in college athletics right now at this point in time, knowing that they might have to pay somebody a combination of 2 coaches over $40 million, not to try and figure out a way to come up with some dirt on your current coach so you can fire him with cause?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would think they would do whatever they had to do, which is what you got. And it's just typical of the SEC, though. You had Jimbo Fisher on signing day in a verbal altercation with Lane Kiffin saying what he said, Jimbo Fisher saying what he said, and you got this going on at Auburn. And look, I'm not going to paint the entire league with the same brush, but the SEC has a reputation of being a bunch of outlaws, and it's only going to get worse. And wait till Texas and Oklahoma and their money bags enter the league. Whenever that happens, it's just the SEC is just going to be totally out of control.
Who's had a worse week? Who's had a worse week? Auburn University, from what Pat just brought up, or the NFL?
You mean the NFL from the standpoint of
from
the
the
coaching
lawsuits
thing,
and the coaching? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not good for either, or Major League Baseball for that matter. Looks like we're not going to have the start of spring training at this point. I do want to mention before the break, South Carolina's got an opening for a tight ends coach. I noticed last night that Tim Brewster retweeted or put out a tweet. Tim Brewster put out a tweet related to Deebo Samuel, which I found interesting that he's tweeting about a Gamecock. He is the former tight ends coach at Florida, former tight ends coach at North Carolina, and I think is interested in the South Carolina job. Why wouldn't he be? And I think he's 61 years old, got a lot of experience, and is considered an excellent recruiter, especially in the Carolinas and in Florida. I think that'd be a slam dunk hire for Shane Beamer if he wanted to bring in a veteran head to be part of his coaching staff. All right, Chris, we've bidden you adieu. Have a great weekend. A good call tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend as well. We'll see you Monday.
Thank you, sir. Mike Morgan coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Big cold fronts roll through tonight. We'll clear out the rain and have a low of 38. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, but chilly with a high of 52. The same for Sunday as we have more sunny skies, but cool, the high of just 50. More rain to start the work week. Showers and a high of 48 for Monday. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Imagine a hot, fresh pizza just the way you love.
Oh, baby. At Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, we're all about the love.
Our pizzas start with hand-tossed spring water dough. We then add the freshest toppings and bake it all
with love, baby.
Salads, hoagies, and beer from around the world, too. Come enjoy the taste you love at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With love.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. A judge has temporarily halted an executive order by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin that allowed parents to opt out of school mask mandates for their children. The ruling means that mask mandates put in place by school boards may remain in place at least for now. Arlington Circuit Court Judge Louise DiMatteo ruled in favor of 7 school boards that filed the lawsuit challenging Youngkin's order. It was one of the first actions taken by Youngkin after he took office on January 15th. The judge said that while the case is pending in court, there appears to be a benefit to keeping the current policies of universal mask mandates in place. A mixed day on Wall Street as the Dow down by 21 points, but the NASDAQ rose 219, the S&P 500 advanced by 23. More details at srnnews.com.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Oh, good, you're home. I need your help.
Doing what?
Replacing our old light bulbs with these new energy-efficient LEDs.
Where did you get these?
Dominion Energy. I ordered direct from their online store. LEDs for every room, all at huge discounts.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. And my 15-bulb order got us free shipping.
Sounds too good to be true.
See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on, you need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Hey, Tiger fans, 2022 Clemson baseball season tickets are currently on sale. Coach Monty Lee and your Clemson Tiger baseball team open the season on February 18th, and you can be there for every game by purchasing your season tickets. Home series include matchups against Miami, Florida State, NC State, Georgia Tech, as well as our annual home games against South Carolina and Georgia, and many more. So log on to ClemsonTigers.com to purchase your Clemson baseball tickets and come back home to Clemson.
Back we are, Sports Talk on a Friday night. Great to have you with us. Mike Morgan in just a moment. Let me give you a few notes, courtesy of the Founders Federal Notebook here on Sports Talk. Don't forget, you can get a mortgage note from Founders Federal right now for as low as 2.33%. Grab it while you can. All right, a few more notes. Hey, congrats to our former Sports Talk co-host, Will Pelagic, on his new role as the play-by-play voice for Charlotte FC. That's the new professional soccer team in Charlotte. For those of you who don't know, soccer like the corn does. I know my soccer. Pelagic and Jessica Charman will be the English language announcers for the matches on the club's flagship station, WFNZ, there in Charlotte. Will does a great job with hard names. It's one thing I was always impressed about with him. He could really spit out the hard names. So he'll do just fine. We mentioned Josh Gray, broken left wrist, will play in a soft cast for the Gamecocks tomorrow. Derek Scott shared that information today on the JB and Goldwater show down there in Charleston. And so another injury for the Gamecocks to deal with. Coastal Carolina's announced their spring practice schedule. They'll begin on February 8th. Practices are closed to the public. They'll have their spring game on March the 3rd. Also, Wofford announced its upcoming football schedule. Terriers will open up at Chattanooga September 3rd, then host Elon, then play at Virginia Tech, then go to Kennesaw State. Tough opening there. Then home to Mercer, at Samford, home to the Citadel, open on the 22nd of October. The next week at East Tennessee, then at Western, VMI at home on the 12th, and then Furman home on the 19th. And also wanted to mention that the Citadel is getting ready for its spring practice. They released their schedule as well as their upcoming season schedule. I think the Southern Conference must have been releasing all their schedules today. So we'll go over more of that in just a little bit, because right now we do have Mike Morgan with us for another edition, another exciting edition of Morgan on the Move, starring Mike Morgan, the man who was in Lexington earlier this week, saw Kentucky do its thing, playing extremely well, will be in Gainesville, Florida tomorrow for the Florida Gators. But before we get to that, of course, leave it to the SEC, right in the heart and the heat of basketball season, to have football dominating the conversation emanating from Auburn University.
Yeah, Auburn and Tennessee. Good to talk to you, by the way.
Oh, yeah, you too. I'm sorry I did not welcome you appropriately.
I know you're not one for the grand welcoming of any kind. People knock on your door. You just say, "What do you want?" You're not really
just get right to the point. I believe in getting right to the point. Yeah.
Exactly. I know time is precious.
Yes.
Look, you of all people doing a show every night know Auburn football and Tennessee football for the last, 10 years, it's the gift that keeps on giving, right? I mean,
yeah, you're right.
It really is, because there's always something, and very often it's controversial. I think, look, if we're going into the psyche of college football fans, and let's keep it more specific in this case, SEC fans, you don't mind watching your friendly rivals go through some of this nonsense, right? Because, especially, let's take it from a Carolina standpoint. everything is in order right now under Shane Beamer. You know, you're coming off a great season, exceeding expectations, recruiting, transfer portal all went well, and quite frankly, not a lot of drama. You know, I mean, if the most drama you have is whether or not you should keep your offensive coordinator, heck, Auburn's been through 3 of them already in the last couple weeks. So it's just that you can't help but go, oh, at least that's not our problem right now. Tennessee's probably even saying that sounds like something we would have had to gone through the last 10 years. Look, I don't know the legitimacy of this. What does concern me, the blatant attempt now by a lot of schools when they decide they want to fire a coach. We all know if you can fire him with cause, you save a lot of money. And I think that has been going on with some schools across the country. I don't know if that's the case here. I don't know if he's going to be fired. I don't know if they're going to give him a contract extension in 30 days. But I'm just saying in general, that is something that I think is really unethical. If you want to fire a coach because he's not winning, fine. Then fire him and pay whatever you signed to pay him out in a buyout. But don't try to get out of it by having people looking for dirt. I mean, that's political stuff. My only other thing on the whole situation is, what was Auburn's record last year, Phil? Do you remember?
I know they lost their last 4. They went down the toilet down the stretch
they
there.
Lost their bowl game 6-7. Okay, 6-7 under first year coach. Now we all know Gus Malzahn got fired for doing a heck of a lot better than 6-7. In addition to that, you know, the coordinators being dropped or leaving all over the place. My point is, you know, no matter how much validity there is to this story, if they went 10-3 last year, then I think it's a much different outlook by some of the people in terms of, well, this is an outrage, we need to get rid of them, or this is not the kind of person we want running our program. When you go 6-7, it makes it real easy to come to that conclusion. If you go 10-3, then it might be, well, look, guys, everybody deserves a second chance. I mean, he didn't kill anybody.
Right.
You know. So I can't help but think of that as well. But regardless of all that and what's going to happen and what's the truth and what's not, like I said, Auburn and Tennessee have been the gift that keeps on giving for people that have to talk college football 12 months out of the year. And, you know, recruiting's done now. This is kind of a slow time, but you've got some material.
Well, listen, the SEC keeps on giving, and Mike, as this new era of college professional sports emerges, I think the SEC, of course, is going to be the leader in every aspect of it, and I think it's going to be the leader in controversies, violations, investigations, terminations, and any other shun you can come up with. I mean, just look at what happened on signing day with what Jimbo Fisher had to say, firing back at Lane Kiffin. And I mean, that's just 2 of them. And it's just I foresee a lot of, I see a lot of stuff, crazy stuff happening in the SEC because of the desire to win big is insatiable, and the money bags that can be thrown into the mix. And we're not even talking about Oklahoma and Texas joining the fray yet, but they'll be there soon enough. And what's that going to do to everything that's going on?
Yeah, well, it's going to make it that much more difficult to win, and therefore it's going to be that much more, let's just say, creative for a lot of coaches to try and stay with the Joneses, if not exceed that point. So, yeah, I mean, it takes an already very difficult job and makes it that much more difficult. But, you know, it also, I always say, like everything else, you take the good with the bad when you're in the SEC. The bad is it's really difficult to win. The good is, I mean, you're about to have a TV contract that's going to pay more than any other league in the country. You've got your own successful TV network that helps in recruiting. You've got brand recognition that is second to none. I mean, it's been a pretty good period for the Southeastern Conference. No one's going to feel sorry for this league. And now the one sport that was kind of, you know, struggling there while football, baseball, women's basketball, and so many Olympic sports were thriving, men's basketball has figured it out. And men's basketball now, after winning another SEC Big 12 challenge, is developing a reputation as one of, if not the best leagues in the country this year. And so, look, it's hard in all sports, as Carolina can attest, but I still think the positives far outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, let's turn our attention to basketball because Auburn continues to win. Number one team in the country, 21-1, 9-0 in the league. But Kentucky is getting hot at the right time and putting it together, 18-4, 7-2 in league play. And that's going to be something when those two meet again and maybe meet twice, of course, in the SEC tournament down in Tampa. So you see at this point in time, the way Auburn is playing, you see any weakness in their club? I mean, defensively, they look outstanding. They hit the boards. They can shoot it. They're fast. They play defense, like I said. You see any area there where they can be taken apart by another good team?
Well, to your first part of that question, do I see a weakness? No. There are only two teams in the league that I don't see a weakness. And I just had the other one Wednesday night at Rupp Arena, and that's Kentucky and Auburn. Doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to go to the Final Four, win the national championship. It's college basketball. Crazy things happen in March. And there are other very good teams in this league, but none of them check all the boxes the way Kentucky and Auburn do, where there's not one thing you can hang your hat on and say, yeah, they're good, but they really struggle in this area, and therefore they're vulnerable. I just don't see that with Auburn or Kentucky.
South Carolina, I said this earlier in the show. South Carolina's got Tennessee tomorrow. They got Kentucky on Tuesday, both at home. They're sort of lingering in the middle of the pack right now. So these two games, I mean, they're either going to move up nicely or they're going to drop and probably get buried. I call this kind of a crossroad time for Frank Martin and his program now in year 10 at South Carolina. We all know that what went down or did not go down at the end of last season. And do you feel that these two games are maybe crucial to his future at South Carolina? Win these two games, maybe they're going to make the NCAA tournament and things will continue on under Martin regimes, but lose these two games and maybe not recover and end outside of the tournament again, then we're right back kind of where we were a year ago.
Right. I mean, aside from the standings, and this is what I remind people all the time when you get obsessed with how many wins and where you finish in the standings. All that's important. But if you look at all the measurables, the net and the RPI, more importantly is who did you play and who did you beat? So just racking up wins against, for example, Vanderbilt and Georgia, that might look good in the standings where it just says wins and losses, but it doesn't do anything for your metrics. They need quality wins right now. So this is a golden opportunity. At Tennessee, you beat Tennessee, that's going to improve all those numbers. You beat Kentucky, it's really going to improve all those numbers. You just beat Missouri and Georgia and Tennessee. Texas A&M has unfortunately taken a slide, so that win does not look as impressive as it did a couple of weeks ago. That's not going to get it done, not this year. There's just too many good teams, and of course, there's too many good teams in this league. So, yeah, it depending on how you look at it, and this is the way I would look at it, you need to have more difficult games coming up on the schedule, and they are. Believe me, they're coming. So around that corner, everybody associated with that program knows there are some really difficult games left, but you have to look at that as an opportunity because without that, you have no chance of getting in the NCAA tournament. You have no chance of getting in the NIT for that matter if you don't pick up some of those wins.
What happens with Frank Martin if there's no postseason for the Gamecocks this year?
No, you tell me. You're closer to it than I am. I don't know. I mean, you've got a situation where there are multiple programs that there's a whole lot of talk, right? A whole lot of buzz. And look, I'm not there like you are, but I hear it. I hear the cries of some people that say this coach, this program, if they don't make the tournament, then they're probably going to be gone. I don't know. I didn't understand what went down last year. I don't know how that's going to play out this year, but like any other situation, you're judged on how many tournaments you get to and how you do when you get there. It's such a simple evaluation, the way your fan base looks at it. All that other stuff is just window dressing. How many tournaments do you win? How many tournaments do you go to? How many do you win? Now, if you're winning SEC championships, that would be the third component. Well, that's great. You're going to the tournament anyway. Chances are, if you're good enough to win the SEC, you're probably going to win some games in the NCAA tournament. But that doesn't apply here. It's how many tournaments do you get to? How do you do when you get there?
We got Duke and North Carolina round 1 Saturday. I don't know. We're not there. We're not in North Carolina. We're not part of their rivalry at all. And I'm sure between the two programs, two universities in that state, it'll be as big as ever. And I guess it should be. Look, Duke is still a top 10 team, and North Carolina's trying to play its way back into that area. You look for a heated battle between those two per usual?
I think Duke outmatches them in talent and is outplaying North Carolina. Now, it's a rivalry game. The game's in Chapel Hill, if I'm not mistaken. So those things will potentially even it out. But I think Duke's a better team. I think Duke, to me, I've seen, in person, of course, I've seen Auburn and Kentucky. Those are Final Four caliber teams. Gonzaga's a Final Four caliber team. Purdue's a Final Four caliber team. Duke is a Final Four caliber team. That's not North Carolina. That's not a Final Four team this year in Chapel Hill. So they have to just gear up, which they always do in that rivalry, and hope to pull off an upset. But Duke is a better team with a better roster.
Amazing to say that about North Carolina, that they don't have that kind of talent because of the way they typically recruit and the kind of players they have on their roster. Normally, I think Hubert Davis still has maybe a little way to go to prove himself as a head coach. Maybe that will happen in time. He gets a win tomorrow. That'll be a big step in that direction. Let me correct something. You didn't correct me. Pat didn't correct me. First mistake of the night. Auburn and Kentucky don't play again in the regular season. So the only time they'll meet again would be in the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament.
I think there's a very good chance they'll meet in Tampa. It's still hard to think about that, the SEC tournament being in Tampa. I think there's a very good chance those two could meet in the title game in Tampa. So maybe you weren't completely wrong. Maybe you were forecasting the tournament.
Well, I said 2 more times. Technically 2 more
Oh,
times.
you said 2 more times.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. I thought
well, then you were
play.
flat out wrong.
Yeah, they're only playing 1 time this year in the with the way the SEC formula is. Oh, one more thing, and I'll ask Frank Martin this. Maybe maybe there's no reason. South Carolina's playing a heck of a lot of Tuesday night games. In their scheduling format, are there certain teams, certain years that are going to be assigned on Tuesday nights? I mean, the Gamecocks, almost all their midweek games are Tuesday night games this year. Is that just happenstance?
I think it's just happenstance. I noticed that too. And this is the first time I've gone this long into a year without having a Gamecock game. I know I have them later on in the season on a Saturday, but most of my games are Wednesday, Saturday. And but really the way TV looks at it, there's really no difference between Tuesday and Wednesday. You're either on the SEC network or you're on ESPN2. Of course, for Carolina, the Tennessee game, that's a rare CBS game. But for the most part, there's virtually no difference Tuesday and Wednesday. We don't get better ratings on Tuesday rather than Wednesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday for most American people at home are you get home from work and you have a nice dinner and maybe you're ready to just watch a game on the tube. That doesn't change Tuesday or Wednesday. Saturday is a whole other animal. Do you want the early game? Do you want the night game? People have family obligations. They do different things, but I don't have an answer for you on that. I did notice that, but I really don't have an answer as to why that is.
Yeah. Kevin Harlan, next to you, one of my favorite basketball play-by-play announcers, Kevin Harlan.
Love Kevin. Yeah.
And NFL,
good dude too.
His dad used to be the GM of the Packers. So
That's
we go
right.
way back.
That's
we go
right.
way back. Mike, as always, enjoy your time on the road, on the move, and we'll talk to you next week, Thursday, maybe Friday, whenever you're ready.
I'm always ready in the 6 o'clock hour. The 7 o'clock can get a little dicey, but I look forward to moving next week on a segment on your show, and we'll have some fun with it, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too.
Mike Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. Hit the break, give you some recruiting on the other side. Be right back.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you.
Save like a pro with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders Loyalty Select account gives you the opportunity to grow your savings at our best rate yet. Fund your account through your favorite Loyalty Select product to get savings today. Not a member yet? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. You know, I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Give me the recruiting report on this Friday night, brought to you by Seawells. Did you get by? Did you get by there today? I hope you got by there today for the daily luncheon buffet at Seawells.
I had 3 pork chops and a massive side of chicken fettuccine Alfredo.
Oh, man.
No veggies, just lots of meat, and then has a banana pudding, too.
Nice. So you had 3 meats and a meat is what you had.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's
exactly
good.
Right.
3 meats and a meat. It'll all be there for you beginning next week, 11 till 2, every day, Monday through Friday. One of the best buffets you'll find anywhere, anytime, at a great price. Cost you $12, Pat? Just $12?
24. I treated my dad. So
nice.
Yeah, 12 each. Not bad at all. Great deal. And for the amount of food you get, you will not leave hungry.
Great place to develop father-son relationships at Seawells. And, of course, if you got a big event coming up, maybe a small event, whatever you need in the catering business, let Seawells help you out, take care of all that hard work, the planning, the execution, and the cleanup. They can handle it for you. 803-771-7385 and SeawellsCateringSC.com for the menus. So, cornerback R.J. Johnson, 6'1", 180, McDonough, Georgia, offered by USC's Torian Gray, who likes him because he's tall, has excellent cover skills. He offered him in January, going to pursue him for the 23 class. He's one of several 23 prospects the Gamecocks are recruiting from his team, Eagles Landing Christian Academy. He obviously was excited to get the offer from South Carolina. He talked to Gray a good bit. He performed in summer camp for Gray and Shane Beamer. They like that he's a big DB, good cover man, has a good size and good speed. And he likes what South Carolina's doing with Beamer in terms of what he foresees in the future. He went to Georgia the last week of January. He also visited Kentucky and Louisville. Plans to get to USC in April for a spring practice Vanderbilt offered on Thursday. Florida State, Georgia Tech, Boston College, LSU, Duke, Florida, Temple, some other offers. Defensive tackle Keith Sampson Jr. of New Bern, North Carolina, has set a visits this March. Florida State on the 5th, Clemson on the 12th, USC on the 19th, and then NC State on the 26th. Clemson target offensive tackle Sam Pendleton offered by Stanford. Dakari Nelson, USC, and Clemson target a DB offered by Texas A&M. We'll be back after the top of the hour break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Former Vice President Mike Pence is defending his actions when he presided over the joint session of Congress to certify the 2020 presidential election. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In a speech to the Conservative Federalist Society, Pence said former President Trump is wrong to claim that he could have overturned the results of the 2020 election. Just last weekend, Trump blasted Pence for his role on January 6th of last year. But the former VP told the group that under the Constitution, he had no right to change the outcome of the election. And he said Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when Republicans beat them in 2024. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The Republican National Committee votes to censure Representatives Cheney and Kinzinger for speaking out against former President Trump.
The Republican National Committee votes formally to censure both GOP Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger over their criticism of former President Trump and his participation in the Special House Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. The censure resolution was voted on by all 168 Republican National Committee members at their winter meeting in Salt Lake City. The effort to punish Cheney of Wyoming and Kinzinger of Illinois comes as party officials judge preparation for this year's midterm elections, when control of Congress and 36 governorships are at stake, with planning for the 2024 presidential election. Bernie Bennett reporting.
A judge has temporarily halted an executive order by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin that allowed parents to opt out of school mask mandates for their children. The ruling means that mask mandates put in place by school boards may remain in place, at least for now. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow down by 21 points. The Nasdaq rose 219. The S&P advanced 23. Oil up to $92.31 a barrel. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Attention, this is a special alert for all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an overpriced auto warranty or no warranty coverage at all. Due to the increase of new and used car prices, repair costs, and the price of gas, people are keeping their cars longer than ever, which is why CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on covered auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can save thousands for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. You could save thousands on future auto repairs. Our specialists are standing by for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-619-6488. Vehicle protection plan pricing is at an all-time low. Plus, drivers who purchase this coverage today will receive rental car options, free roadside assistance, and free towing. Call 800-619-6488 now for your free quick quote. That's 800-619-6488. What do you have to lose? Call 800-619-6488. Again, 800-619-6488.
At a news conference, Inglewood, California Mayor James T. Butts Jr. tells KABC TV a man has been arrested in connection with an altercation at the NFC Championship game that left a San Francisco 49ers fan badly injured.
Officers went to his location and he voluntarily accompanied them to the Inglewood Police Department, where he received his Miranda admonition and was interviewed. After the interview, he was placed under arrest for 245A, subsection 4, assault by means to produce great bodily injury.
Brian Alexis Cifuentes Rosell, 33, was arrested for investigation of assault by means to produce great bodily harm and was released on $30,000 bail. The assault recalls a similar incident where an unruly Dodgers fan assaulted a San Francisco Giants fan. News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Big cold fronts roll through tonight. We'll clear out the rain and have a low of 38. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, but chilly with a high of 52. The same for Sunday as we have more sunny skies, but cool, a high of just 50. More rain to start the work week. Showers and a high of 48 for Monday. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with you on Point Local Weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back. Ordinarily, Brian Ralph would be here. Ralphie on basketball. He just notified me a few minutes ago. He's out in Colorado on basketball duties, and the time difference caught up with him. He got things sort of mixed up, so he's not available to be with us. I think he's got a ball game that he's covering in Colorado. They're big on Colorado State. He might be out at Colorado State if they're playing tonight, which I think they do play a lot on Fridays. He might be there watching them play. So conflict. So we'll have Brian with us next week. So we'll be open until Jeff Owens joins us at the bottom of the hour. If you want to join us, 888-898-2525 is the number, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. In here to Sports Talk. So just doing my due diligence, as you have to do as a sports talk show host, on what's happening in Auburn and reading some of the things that the Auburn people are responding to. So the person in question here is a young lady named Clessie Crochet, or maybe it's Crochet, Crochet. How would you pronounce that, Pat? You're a linguist at heart.
Crockett?
No, I'd say Crochet, CH. She was a cheerleader at Boise, and for some reason is now the assistant to the head coach in football operations at Auburn. And, of course, everybody is teeing off on this. Now, his wife, the coach's wife, has responded by saying, it's all rumors and hate-mongering and all this kind of stuff. But people are having a blast with it. And, we'll see what Auburn uncovers here, so to speak, in this situation and what happens with their coach. And then what do you do if you're Auburn and you have to make a coaching change? Where do you go? You're not going to promote from within the staff. There's nobody really there of any experience that you would look at. Maybe they should have hired Kevin Steele way back when they had the chance and just be done with it. Somebody somebody who's dependable, steady, knows the Auburn way and knows the Auburn family.
Well,
but you had to get fancy.
Yeah, well, as many players that have transferred out of Auburn in the last couple of months and as many assistant coaches have left, I mean, at least one positive for them is I don't think anybody else can leave at this point. I mean, if they were going to leave, they would have left. So how much worse would it actually get if you do fire him? And that may ultimately be their decision. If they have the money, which it certainly seems like these big programs at this point, paying that $18 million, it almost gives me goosebumps to even say this, but that's just chump change for them at this point, which is wild to think. But it may ultimately come down to them having that realization. Is it ever going to get any better than this? And if not, why don't we just cut tail now and start fresh?
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know where they would turn. Who is available that's out there? I mean, are you going to pull somebody away from another program? Obviously, you could do that. You could go down a level and find somebody who wants to step up to the SEC. Would you find a current Power 5 coach somewhere who'd want to make a move now to Auburn? I mean, this could start a domino chain reaction effect, in many ways. Somebody loses a coach, they got to go get a coach somewhere. Or maybe there's somebody on the outside that they would go and hire. Who would want to go? But then again, what veteran coach looking for a job or who might be interested in the job would want to step into the Auburn situation at this point in time? I don't know what their roster looks like after all those departures. They did lose their starting quarterback. I know TJ Finley is back to be a starting quarterback, and he's pretty good. I guess Tank Bigsby is still with them, so he's good. But I'm not sure about the line of scrimmage or the receivers or anything like that. Do they have the personnel returning to get it right at Auburn next year? Plus, he's got there is no offensive coordinator. He's in the process of trying to hire a new offensive coordinator, and he lost his defensive coordinator, had to replace him. So, yeah, it's a mess. It's truly a mess at Auburn.
Corn, I have got the perfect candidate. If they run Harsin out of town, I got just the guy, and I think Chris would back me up on this. Matt Rule. I hear that guy can build one heck of a program. He had success in the Big 12. I bet he could do it in the SEC. So, Matt Rule, would love to see him go to Auburn.
You just want him. Then who would you want to be the coach of the Panthers?
Anybody but Matt Rule. Honestly, I was hoping
throw a name out there.
I was hoping for Brian Flores, which I know right now that's just, I hate saying it, but not going to happen. But I would have loved for the day after he was let go by the Miami Dolphins for David Tepper to have at least thought about reaching out to Brian Flores with the talent that they have on that Panthers defense, and just see what he could come in and do with the level he had the Miami Dolphins defense playing at, and their talent I don't think could quite match what the Panthers have right now. I would have loved to have seen him in Charlotte. I think that was a missed opportunity personally.
Now, Panthers aren't going anywhere till they find a quarterback.
Well, here, yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. And the offensive line. I mean, the fact that their top offensive line draft pick last year, Brady Christensen's from BYU, all season long, Matt Rule refused to play him because he was convinced the guy's arms were too short. So he moved him to the interior. And then he started the last 2 games of the season at left tackle, and he ranked amongst the top 5 in the entire NFL at the position. Imagine that.
Yeah. Got a couple of messages on our video stream from some listeners. Appreciate that. So David writes, referring to Mike Morgan, my favorite Gamecock announcer, no disrespect to the others, Mike should be the voice of the Gamecocks and call football, basketball, and baseball. Well, at one time, that was something he certainly would have done. But he's moved on, really, for him personally, I think, to bigger and better things. He's got a great gig going with his ESPN stuff and his national radio stuff, his own podcast I think he does with J.C. Sherbert. So he's got a lot of good stuff going on. I think he's very happy. Jimmy writes, as for Haslam, he writes Haslam. As for Harsin at Auburn, he could be fired at no cost if he failed to get the vaccination, which is required for all Alabama state employees. That it was required by December of last year, if my memory is correct. Is that what you just said? You said the same thing?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for the questions. You can keep them coming there if you'd like to. We'll read them on the air and respond. We do have some calls trickling in. 888-898-2525, the number.
Just real quick before we go to our callers, Corn, we actually already have articles coming out where they are trying to speak on who may be the top candidates for Auburn to replace Harsin as head coach. And right now, the leading 3 candidates are SMU Mustang offensive coordinator Rhett Lashley,
who used to be there.
Correct. He was there on that staff when they won their last national championship. And then Kevin Steele, defensive coordinator, who now at Miami, could not see him going back to Auburn, but you never know. And then
for the money.
That's right. And the third one, Matt Rule.
Ha! Dream, dream, dream.
A man can dream.
Well, look, if they picked up Rule, they picked up Steele, or they picked any of those 3 would not cause a domino effect in college coaching then. They're not taking a sitting head coach from somewhere else. So that'd make it kind of clean if they did that. All right, let's go to Keith in Camden. Up with us tonight here on Sports Talk. We got some unexpected time for some calls on this Friday night. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Hey, Phil. I'm doing well. And you?
Man, I tell you, I'm just kind of glad I'm not a sports talk host in the state of Alabama.
Well, I tell you what, this is not what I'm calling about, but just sitting here listening, heading home, I think I've got the top candidate. Maybe they can go get Will, take him out of Georgia, take him back to Auburn. That'd be a good hire. What do you think?
Oh, been there, done that. I don't think I think Will Muschamp's head coaching days at the major level are, at least for the time being, I wouldn't. He's still young enough to where he might be able to talk his way into another job. He may have to go down a level and prove that he can win big before coming back up. But if you're Muschamp right now, why not just enjoy life? You got your kids there with you in Athens. You got big money. You got your buddies back there with you. You got a national championship ring. So why not just sit back and enjoy?
Absolutely. Look, but let me ask you this, and I just turned the radio on after I got through the country. Basketball. I mean, you look at these next 8-9 games. I mean, it's realistic that there's a potential possibility, high probability, that we could finish the basketball season below 500. What do you think becomes of that? What do you think the mindset is within the program if that happens? And that's just speculating, but let's be real. Each week we keep thinking we win this one, but I mean, this stretch is going to be brutal.
Right. Well,
hang up, listen. Love the show.
Thank you. Well, look, I mean, we could play Pollyannish here and be all positive and say they're going to win here, 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 win here. Or, we could be a little more real and say, they're probably not going to beat Tennessee. They're probably not going to beat Kentucky. They're probably not going to beat LSU at home. Those are 3 ranked teams coming to Columbia. And you'd have to say right now they're probably not going to beat them unless they play great basketball above and beyond basically what they've done this year. Maybe win at Georgia. I doubt they'll win at Ole Miss. Mississippi State's coming to Columbia again. That's a bad matchup for them. Always has been. So if you put that in the loss column with the other 3 and then Ole Miss, that's 5. And then Alabama on the road would be 6. Then Auburn on the road would be 7. You got Missouri at home, which you possibly could win. You could possibly beat Georgia on the road, possibly beat Missouri at home. That's 2 wins and 7 losses down the stretch as I see it, possibly. Now look, that's 15 and that's 15 wins. So that's 15 and 15 overall, and 6 and 12 in the SEC. So that's not going to get you anywhere as far as the NCAA is concerned. So, yeah, there you go. You're going to be right back kind of where you were last year and the year before, as far as no postseason tournament is concerned. So what will the mindset be? Got a new university president coming in. Ray Tanner did this dance the same time last year, and I know what we reported last year, and I stand by what we said at that point in time last year. I have no reason to doubt anything that I was told that was going on because I know it was true, because I know my sources knew exactly what was going on. And we may be dancing that same dance again, with that thing. Will it be basically that Frank Martin's gone 10 years at South Carolina with one postseason tournament? Is that what South Carolina will look at? Or will they look at other things about his program that they think override the lack of postseason appearances? Most places you're judged in basketball by making the NCAA tournament. Those places that care about their basketball program, most places. Maybe South Carolina and Clemson are different because their head coaches are still where they are and they haven't had many NCAA appearances. Martin's had 1. Brownell's had what? 3, I think. 3 or 4. I think it's 1, 2, 4. Maybe it's 4. He's got a little bit. From that standpoint, he's got a better record than Frank Martin does during his time at Clemson. So it all depends on how the powers that be want to look at it. Is it 3? Is it 3 for him?
That's right, 3. And the first one, remember, was with pretty much all of Oliver Purnell's talent, because then he went 6 years in a row without it.
Yeah. So it all depends on what you think how high the bar should be set for your program. What are you judging your program by?
Corn, trying to figure out the best way to phrase this question, but we've seen, yes, Frank Martin's only taken the Gamecocks to 1 tournament, but we have to point out he took them all the way to the Final Four. It wasn't just they weren't just happy to reach the tournament. They had some amazing games en route, including that big win over Duke in order to get to that Final Four. We still might think if Sindarius Thornwell had not come down with the flu, they very well may have reached the national championship game. They had a lot going against them out there in Phoenix. But point being, he has taken South Carolina basketball to a height that they have not seen, or at least not in a long, long time. How much goodwill does that buy you? And how long will you, if you're Ray Tanner or the administration, you see, okay, this guy has taken us to those great heights before, so we think he can get there again, but how many more chances do you give the guy to replicate that 1 year of magic? And I mean, 5 years in a row without it, if they don't reach the tournament again this year, you're going to hear those questions again, and they're only going to get louder and louder.
Absolutely, as they should. I mean,
absolutely.
Gamecock fans should want their basketball program. You got a beautiful 18,000 seat arena. It's, when the men are playing, it's like, what, a third full, 6,000, 7,000. They might have, maybe tomorrow, they might have 9 or 10,000 for that game tomorrow, I would say. They should be better. They should do more. And they've got the facilities. They put the money into the locker room, but the recruiting is still not great. They're hanging their hopes on getting G.G. Jackson from Ridgeview in the 23 class, who would be, of course, maybe a program maker, a program turner. Are they really going to get him away from Duke? I wouldn't hedge my bet. I know there's talk, the family wants him to stay close to home, but Durham's only 2.5 hours. It's not like it's halfway across the country. And it's Duke, and it's John Shire, and it's the thing about Duke with Kay leaving and Shire taking over now, and you're a freshman going in 23, it's like a new beginning at Duke, but with a guy who's been there through a great portion of their success. Is that enough to attract you to believe that you going in, you're going to be part of that new era of Duke basketball? If he chooses Duke, is what I'm saying. I think that would be, perhaps to a young man like that, very appealing. Of course, there is always the opportunity to stay home and play in front of the hometown fans and make a big difference if you think you're going to be surrounded by other players of your level, which he's not going to be. There's nobody he's bringing in, nobody coming in the current class, in the future class, that's going to be at his level, I would say, at this point in time. But we shall see what happens with that. But I think if this season turns to crap for South Carolina, which it might possibly do turning this weekend, or it might, look, if they go out and play their tails off tomorrow, hit some shots, stay out of foul trouble, don't turn it over, somehow manage to penetrate Tennessee's Iron Dome defense, which is basically what it is, and can get inside and score, they might pull off the big upset. And then, Tuesday night, the place might be on fire and something magical might happen. Get a couple of wins the next 2 games, and then the conversation goes in an entirely different direction.
That's right. Now, Corn, 2 quick questions for you. One, if Frank Martin is able to land a commitment from Gigi, no matter how the rest of this season goes, if you're Ray Tanner, can you let him go? Or at that point, do you have to ride out with Coach Martin just to keep Gigi coming to Columbia or staying in Columbia?
Well, I mean, you're not going to – I don't think the young man's announcing that soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that answer.
I don't think so. He's still got some – this is a 23 class, so right. He's still got until November. If he wants to sign early, he still has until November. He can make a commitment, a decision, of course, earlier than that. But, he still has a little bit of time before he has to sign. I will say, on this year's team, I like some of the young talent. I think that Devin Carter is an exciting young talent if he stays in the program, who could be a really good player for them. But outside of that, I mean, look, they're going to – Keyshawn Bryant, I mean, he could be gone after this year. Chico Carter could be back. Devin Carter. Kuznard could be back, but who knows?
James Reese, he could probably come back.
He's a grad student. He's one who's done.
So he's used his bonus COVID year.
I believe so. Same thing with Stevenson, and I think same thing with Wilson, who's a grad student. So now Woodley they like a lot, and I'm not sure if he's going to be, he just had a kid. That's why he missed the game the other day. I would imagine he's back, maybe, but he's missed some practice time. I haven't heard one way or another, but I'd imagine he's back and will be able to play. Jacoby Wright's a nice young player. So in Wright, I'm talking about young players. In Wright and Carter, you got a couple of nice young guards who can be developed if they stay in your program and become, much better players and good players down the road. But again, you're looking at next year a major roster turnover. I got to, Javon Benson will probably be gone, and he's not playing for South Carolina. He'll probably be gone. Who knows who else will depart? So again, you're going to be looking at a revolving door over there at USC with the basketball roster.
And the second question, to make this one quick, is there added pressure on the men's basketball team and on Frank Martin for the men's basketball team to succeed because of just how dominant the women's program is? We see the success of Dawn Staley's squad. Does that, you got to think that makes Carolina fans want to see success?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's what I was trying
I think
to. If that's
two
any
separate
pressure.
entities, and just each has their own type of pressure. I mean, Dawn's pressure is to be great every day.
Right.
They've set the bar so high, the standard so high for them. Whatever pressure they have is self-induced, and that is just to be a great team, be the number one team in the country every night. Man, I got over there last night, start of the fourth quarter. Of course, the game was already over. They scored 35 points in the first quarter last night. I mean, they annihilated Alabama last night, and Boston got another double-double. That's 15 in a row for her. They're just a great women's basketball team with a ton of talent and no let up in sight, because there's more talent coming in down the road in the next recruiting class. I mean, she built it, and it's now feeding upon itself, much like Alabama football and Georgia football's doing, Clemson football has done, like Duke basketball, North Carolina basketball, Kansas, the Connecticut women have done, USC women now doing the same thing. So, no, the pressure on Frank Martin is, I mean, it's just to get to a darn tournament, again. And, Gamecock fans, I'm sure, thank him for the one appearance and the run to the Final Four, which was a great ride for all Gamecock fans and everybody who was observing the team. That was a great run and a great ride. But, I mean, it's been 5 years now. And the sad part is that they didn't take advantage of that. They didn't use that Final Four run to help get more great players into the program. They didn't build on it. The program has slipped since that tournament. And, that's on the head coach and that's on the staff for not getting it done. I mean, their records year by year since the Final Four, they went 26-11. The next year they won 17, then they won 16, then they won 18, then they won 6, and now they're 13-8. I mean, 13-8 right now, 4-5. Okay, that's not bad for South Carolina after 21 games and halfway through SEC play. Which direction is this season going to take? And that's why I'm said from the beginning tonight, this is a crossroad time for South Carolina's season. Tennessee, Kentucky, great opportunity that could turn into a disaster if they don't take advantage of the opportunity. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So you win, you're 15-8, and you're 6-5 in the league with some winnable games ahead of you to pad it. And maybe you're playing over your head and you pick off another couple of big wins at home. You get around 20 wins. Then all of a sudden we're singing a different song. But they got to go out and do it. Real quick, let's go to Bruce in Columbia. Bruce, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. Appreciate you taking my call tonight.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
me a little bit about the new head coach for the Jaguars in Florida. What's so good about it?
Doug Peterson, yeah, one-time Packer assistant. Of course, won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Renowned for developing quarterbacks. That's been his thing. He played quarterback in the NFL, and he's been coaching. His thing was coaching quarterbacks before he became a head coach. So with the Packers, I believe he was there with Favre, and he transitioned to Rodgers. Well, let me think. No, he was a backup. He was a backup on the Packers with Favre, I believe. And then he went into coaching, became a quarterback coach, and might have coached Rodgers as the quarterback coach, I think, without having looked that up. But that's his background as a quarterback, as a player, and a quarterback coach. And then, of course, as supposedly a good offensive mind, he was given a lot of credit for the development of Carson Wentz in the year that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Of course, Wentz got hurt before they got to the Super Bowl, and Nick Foles was the one that took him the rest of the way.
So he was with Sterling Sharp on.
He was with who? He was with who?
Sterling Sharp. playing there?
No, I think Sterling was way before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sterling goes back. Sterling's old. He goes back a lot of years. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I think
I'm
so.
not old, and I mean, I'm 69. I'm not old.
No, I
And,
don't. I look at 69 as being a very youthful age.
Yeah, I do too.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
All right, we got to run to the break. So
okay.
listen, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good hearing from you. All right, when we come back from the break, we will go racing. Doug Peterson was born in 1968, as a matter of fact. And so 68.
Looks like they played 1 year together in the Packers in '95.
Who's that?
Sterling Sharp and
Doug Peterson. Oh, okay. That's good. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's your weekend forecast. Big cold fronts roll through tonight. We'll clear out the rain and have a low of 38. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, but chilly with a high of 52. The same for Sunday as we have more sunny skies, but cool, the high of just 50. More rain to start the work week. Showers and a high of 48 for Monday. Have a great weekend. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
This is Roger Metz.
And this is Taylor Metz, your host of Woods and Water, South Carolina.
One of our favorite events is the Southeastern Wildlife Exposition in Charleston, and this year it's February 18th through the 20th.
Our friends down at Seaweed sent us 2 3-day passes to give to one lucky listener. All you have to do is tell us who you take with you and why.
That's right. Just go to the Woods and Water South Carolina Facebook page, find a picture of the Seaweed tickets, and post your answer.
We will pick a winner on Monday morning, February 7th.
Thanks for listening to Woods and Water South Carolina every Saturday afternoon from 3 to 4 right here on 100.7 The Point.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. A man who shot and killed 4 people at a Nashville Waffle House in a 2018 early morning attack has been found guilty on 4 counts of first-degree murder. A jury returned the verdict Friday after about 4 hours of deliberations. Travis Ranking did not dispute the details of the shooting, which was caught on surveillance video and witnessed by numerous people. But he had pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Evidence showed the 33-year-old Ranking had schizophrenia and had suffered delusions for years, believing that unknown people were tormenting him. Prosecutors presented evidence that Ranking was calm and cooperative after his arrest, able to understand and respond to commands. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 21 points. The Nasdaq rose 219. The S&P advanced 23. This is SRN News.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by Tree Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often, to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Devine Street downtown.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. So this is the time of year when we try to be responsible and plan out the next 12 months. I'm not good at it either, so let's work on this together. Go and grab your calendar, whether it's on your phone or on your refrigerator. Find your anniversary, your best friend's birthday, your kid's birthday, your spouse's birthday, graduation day, and write in Melting Pot. We're the premier special occasion restaurant in the Midlands, the Melting Pot.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Does your kitchen look like a scene out of a 1970s TV show?
Is it time to modernize things with a fresh look? Let me strongly suggest you consider my friends over at Stone Interiors. And yes, these are folks I've known a long time, first as their customer and for many years as a partner right here at the Point. They turned our countertops into the centerpiece of our entire kitchen. Stone Interiors checks all the boxes. They're locally owned and operated, so they're here for 20 years and they stand by their work. They have the widest selection of granite, marble, and quartz to go with their incredible workmanship on counters, outdoor kitchens, tile flooring, backsplashes, and a whole lot more. Great selection, tremendous care for their work to go with a design staff to help you from start to finish on your next project. You don't have to have a Brady Bunch kitchen anymore. Climb into 2022. Give yourself a beautiful countertop. Give yourself a great summer with an outdoor kitchen. Go visit and see for yourself online at stoneinteriors.com or give them a call, make an appointment, watch what Stone Interiors can do for you. 461-8950, 461-8950.
Love it when it's four wide, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders talk, the pack is moving past. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Love it when they're drafting, love it when they slide, love it when the back's straight, the throttle's open wide. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these W's say. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
We've been waiting to sing that since November. Seems like just yesterday we were talking NASCAR and championship. It is back. It's time to go racing at the LA Coliseum, and we welcome back our good friend Jeff Owens in the fast lane. For those of you watching us on our Zoom, we have a picture of Jeff up. That's not what he looks like today. I think we found a picture of you from about 20 years ago, but it works. It still works.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm afraid to even know what that looks like. You know, I can't tell you how much I've missed hearing you guys butcher that song every week.
Well,
so it's good to be back.
We'll continue to butcher it whenever it is played. So listen, when this whole thing came out about LA Coliseum and the clash and on dirt and a quarter mile in there, we just kind of said, that's crazy. But it looks pretty real to me. It looks like they're going to put on a pretty big show.
Yeah, I was the same way, Phil. I was very skeptical at the start. This seemed like nothing more than another NASCAR gimmick to me, which it is. That's pretty much exactly what it is, and I wasn't thrilled about it. You know, I didn't like them separating the Busch Clash from the Daytona 500 and going all the way across the country to participate in some crazy gimmick race. But the more we've learned about it, and now that we've seen the racetrack inside the LA Coliseum, I think it's actually pretty cool. I think it's very neat that they're doing that. The track looks beautiful inside that historic Coliseum, and you know, it sounds odd to put a racetrack inside a football stadium like that, but it looks like it's going to work well there, and it could be a sign of the future. I mean, they've talked about if this goes well, they may do it again next year, and then who knows what it is going to look like down the road. But everybody's really excited to be in LA, big market. That's the driving force behind this, but also inside a stadium like the LA Coliseum. So it's going to be a pretty cool event, I think.
What are they judging success by? TV ratings or butts in the seats?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. I don't know how many butts they're going to have in the seats. I think they've sold pretty well. Probably won't be sold out, but I would say TV ratings and buzz. You know, what kind of buzz does this generate? Those are two big factors. You know, and they want to get a good buzz out of that LA market. You know, they've been trying to crack that thing for years, and despite having a racetrack about an hour away, or 3 hours with LA traffic, but they haven't really cracked that market, and they're trying to do that. So I think that's it. TV ratings and the amount of buzz they can generate, not only in LA but across the nation.
A lot of change in NASCAR, the new generation car, a lot of drivers in new locations, new owners, new teams, new sponsors, a lot of newness this year.
Yeah, and this car is the major thing, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they adapt to this and what the racing looks like. It's a different looking car, and it's designed primarily to level the playing field a little bit. It's easier to build. Everybody's on the same level in terms of where they get their parts and how they build the cars and all that. So in theory, it's supposed to make the racing a little bit closer, more competitive, and give the smaller teams a better chance to compete. But we'll see. There's probably going to be some learning curves and growing pains there, but that is certainly going to be a huge story to watch this year.
What about the handling of the car, this new car? What have you learned from the testing, and what should fans expect to see there? What kind of packages will they be running by and large on these cars?
Yeah, I think, they've changed a lot. The brake system is different. The steering is different. It's got a little bit bigger wheels. How they set it up compared to the old cars, I'm not really sure. I think that's what they're trying to figure out. But they've had a lot of tests for this thing during the off season. They've run it on a lot of different tracks, including Daytona, and they ran it multiple times on the Roval down in Charlotte. But as far as the setups, I think they got to figure that part out. I think they were able to dial it in pretty close with only some very little minor glitches during these test sessions. So I think everybody's pretty comfortable with it. I don't know that this first race is going to be a great test because it's going to be so different than what they normally do, but I think they're pretty comfortable with it. And, I heard a great question today where, they asked the crew chiefs if they were concerned about being able to get an advantage and skirt the rules and cheat a little bit and all that with this car. And they talked like, business as usual as far as that goes. So, so obviously, the smart teams are going to find ways to get around the rules. That's what this sport is all about. And they seem confident that they'll still be able to do that.
Jeff Owens in the fast lane with us here on Sports Talk as we go into the Clash weekend in L.A. So of all the moves of the drivers and the teams and all that, who are we going to – is it going to be like we've had in recent years, like this year it's going to be Gibbs, or, this year it's going to be Hendrick? Like, which team's going to dominate, or do you think we'll have a year where the victories are more spread around?
Yeah, it could be. You could have a little bit more parity. Certainly that's what they're hoping for with this new car. That's the whole idea behind it. But having said that, the car is going to hopefully level the playing field, but your top teams are still probably going to dominate because, everybody's faced with a big learning curve. They got to continue to learn with this car, and the teams that are going to be best equipped to do that are your big teams that have the most money and the best engineers and all that stuff. So I don't think anything's going to really change. I think it'll be a while before we see the competition gap close. So I think going into the year, it's still the same guys. I think Hendrick Motorsports with Kyle Larson, you can't bet against them from after what they did last year. Gibbs, we'll see if Stuart Haas can bounce back. That's a big deal. They struggled so badly last year, so we'll see if they can bounce back. Penske's got a couple of changes. Brad Keselowski is gone. They got a rookie, Austin Cindric, who was the Xfinity champion in that car. So it'll be interesting to watch those two teams and see how they can compete. But, I still think it's going to be your top teams dominate.
Real quick before we let you go, what's your take on the announcement by Darlington for the race coming up this spring that they won't be selling any tickets on the back stretch? All seats will be on, coming out of, turn 4 down the front stretch going into turn 1.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that yet, Phil. Yeah, I'm curious as to why they're doing it. Are they putting more seats on the front stretch, or are they taking seats out?
They are not doing anything like that. They're just not going to sell tickets on the back stretch. I think their release said they wanted to concentrate on the fan experience on the front stretch where they're closer to the track, closer to pit road, and things like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I mean that's probably a good move for them because it makes the race a little bit more attractive with probably more action on that side of the racetrack. But yeah, I mean you kind of hate that from a fan standpoint too because you want to sell all your tickets and fill the racetrack, but you also got to do the best you can with what you got to enhance the fan experience. So I guess that's what they're trying to do. So we'll see what happens, but certainly hope things continue to go well down there.
All right, correct me if I need to be corrected. Alan Smothers is correcting me. I said dirt. In the LA Coliseum. It's not dirt. They're racing on asphalt.
Yeah, and that's gonna, still it's gonna make it an extremely interesting race. The big thing is this is only a quarter-mile track. So you think about Bristol and Martinsville, it's half the size of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time they ran on a track that small since 1971. So it's going to be fascinating because they're going to be on top of each other, bumper to bumper, door to door, and there's probably going to be a lot of fender rubbing, bumping and banging, wrecks and tempers. So it's going to be Bristol and Martinsville on steroids.
I was going to say,
so
is that more like what North Wilkesboro was right? What was North Wilkesboro back in the day?
Yeah, Wilkesboro was still about a half mile, a little bit shorter than a half a mile, but right around that. It's more like a typical Saturday night short track, probably a lot like Greenville Pickens.
Yeah.
I've heard, something like that. And Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem. That's the racetrack everybody compares it to. It's inside an old football stadium, and it's only a quarter mile. I mean, it's basically the shortest track you can possibly run, and you're going to put the biggest, heaviest race cars there are on that track and ask them to race on that. So it's going to be fascinating, and the drivers have said all week long that they think they're going to be running over each other, and there's going to be a lot of drama.
You got a winner in mind?
Given that, what I just said, I would go with Joey Logano because he's the guy out there who is most inclined to put somebody in the wall and knock them out of the way. And that may be, and we've heard several guys say, that may be what it takes to make a pass for the lead and win the race. So Logano certainly has shown that he don't mind doing that. So I'd pick him.
Well, look, I mean, there's no NFL they're going up against unless you want to count like the Pro Bowl. I'm not sure what time they kicked that off, but, there's no real NFL they're going up against, and they'll be going up against the tail end of the PGA event, maybe a little basketball, but they should have the sports fans to themselves on Sunday night with this show at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and I think that was a great move. That was done by design to run. Normally they run the Clash the week before the Daytona 500, but this year the Super Bowl is the week before, so they're going to try to take advantage of this, having a low week, a down week as far as sports is concerned. And like you said, they've pretty much got the TV schedule to themselves. So that was kind of by design. So you got that, and you got them racing in the LA market in the Coliseum, and all those things make for a pretty intriguing storyline and a pretty attractive event. So hopefully they get the TV ratings they're looking for.
Well, listen, you enjoy your weekend. We thank you for joining us. We'll get back together in a couple of weeks prior to the 500, and then we will run on from there.
Sounds great. Have a good one, Phil.
You too.
Appreciate
Great to have you back with us. Thank you. Jeff Owens in the fast lane, and he is going with Logano to win the Clash because he believes Logano will punch you and put you in the wall and do what it takes to win on this quarter-mile track. Thanks to the bad boy, Alan Smothers, who sitting back on his back porch, smoking a stogie and sipping on some fine aged bourbon, I'm sure. listening to Sports Talk as he likes to do down there on the coast. And thank you for correcting me on that. For some reason, I thought that they were putting dirt in there. I thought when this thing was first announced, they were doing dirt. Maybe I'm confusing it with Bristol, the short track on the dirt at Bristol. Yeah, they ran on dirt there that time, right? They're going to do that again. Maybe that's what I'm confusing it with. All right, we'll come back and drop some more notes on you, update the PGA event. New head football coach at AC Flora High School has been announced. Tell you about that. And we can squeeze in another call or two. If you have something to say here at the end of the week, we'll be back.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, hunting season is upon us. How do we stay safe in a field?
There are 3 rules that every hunter should follow when they're hunting with a firearm. Number 1, treat every firearm due to respect a loaded gun. If you treat your firearm as if it's loaded, you'll always, number 2, keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction. And number 3, when you decide to pull the trigger, make sure of your target, identify it, and know what's beyond it in case you miss.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through co-op connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Relax on and off the field with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. If you're looking for low rates, look to Founders. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you.
We're back on Sports Talk. Thanks again to Jeff Owens for being with us tonight. Looking forward to another NASCAR season with him and with Kerry Tharp. Hey, I want to remind you that you're thinking about your upcoming summer vacations, or maybe not so far down the road, maybe something in the spring. Think about the beach. Think about Pawleys Island and the surrounding areas. Think about James Smith Realty. Let Jimmy Smith and his crew take good care of you at 843-237-4246, PawleysVacationRentals.com. They've got the properties. They've got the prices. They got exactly what you're looking for. If you want to rent something for a week or a month or longer, perhaps you want to buy some property to make it a permanent residence, your first call should be to James Smith Realty. There are a lot of realtors down at the beach. Believe me, they're everywhere. But there's only one James Smith Realty. There's only one Jimmy Smith. There's only one staff like they have at James Smith Realty. 843-237-4246, PawleysVacationRentals.com. Let them take care of all that for you down at Litchfield and Pawleys, Garden City, and other spots there on the Grand Strand. All right, catch up on some things. New head football coach at AC Flora High School, Ken Floyd. He has been the offensive coordinator the past 3 seasons. He replaces Dustin Curtis, who became the head coach at Dorman. Latest in golf, AT&T, Pebble Beach, Pro-Am. They're into day 2. Of course, they're playing 3 different courses out there, and looks like the weather is pretty decent. Sometimes they get some rotten weather for this event, but looks pretty decent. Seamus Power, he is your leader after a pair of 64s. He's at 16 under. Andrew Putnam, a 67. Tom Hoagie, a 69. Adam Svensson, a 68. They are all at 11 under par. Top of the leaderboard. And then there's Jason Day at 9 under. Doc Redman, 6 under after a 71. Matthew Neesmith, 69. He's at 6 under. Jonathan Bird, 5 under after a 72. DJ Trahan, a 71. He's 4 under. Scott Brown is 2 under. Bill Haas is even after a 77. He opened with a 68. Actually, he opened with a 66. Kyle Stanley's +1. Kevin Kisner is +2. Davis Love III is +3. Lucas Glover is +7. And Tommy Gainey improved from a 78 to a 72. That leaves him at 7 over par after the first 2 rounds. And looks like, I think they play another round tomorrow, and then they have a 3rd round cut. I think that's what they do. So that's where things stand out there. And let's see, what else I want to mention. Had a few other notes to pass along. Let's see here. Bring those up real quick. Give you a couple of more notes from our notebook here on Sports Talk. Founders Federal notebook. Don't forget, you can get a mortgage note for as low as 2.33%. Did you know, and we'll do something more on this with Coach Dean Boyd from York, because he's heading this up. South Carolina Football Coaches Association, they've put together the Palmetto Combine Series. And this is a way for them to get a look at some of the top players around the state of South Carolina that are nominated by their coaches, seniors and juniors. They have to be nominated. And they will have combines coming up in May, on May 1st. Back it up. I think the first one is April 30th, the Palmetto Midlands Combine, April 30th. Then one on May 1st for the upper state, and May 7th for the lower state. And this is to help the coaches for the Touchstone Energy Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, if there is one this year, look at some of the top players in South Carolina in a combine setting and have an idea about these players. And what they're asking for, if you're listening to us and you are a coach, they're asking you to nominate your players. You have to nominate your players for them to be considered for this. Seniors will compete with other seniors to showcase their skills to earn a spot in the Touchstone Energy Cooperative's North-South All-Star Game in December. And the juniors will be competing for the junior combine. That's a part of that. And again, I'm sure if there's a Shrine Bowl, that the Shrine Bowl coaches will be taking a look at these guys as well. So you head coaches, get your nominations in for that so they can get a look at your players. And let's see, I mentioned Citadel. Citadel spring practice going to open on February the 10th. And they're going to play their spring game on March the 5th, and then have 2 more spring practices after that. Okay, so we're starting to get into that time of year where spring practices are popping up everywhere. And let's see, college baseball is underway. Newberry is playing tonight. I believe North Greenville is opening up today down in Clinton, Mississippi. All right, so we got that coming back at us. Oh, our poll question of the week, it's in its final hours. You've got 5 hours left to vote. 782 votes are in. Question was, Dabo Swinney, is he smart by not dipping into the transfer portal, John, or is he being stupid? Hunter Johnson doesn't count. I've had some people on here. Well, he took Hunter Johnson. Hunter Johnson doesn't count. That's not a true transfer portal, John, transaction. He was going to go to Clemson as a GA. Dabo found out he had a year of eligibility. He said, play. He said, okay. 76.9% say that is this a good strategy by Sweeney to ignore the portal, John? 76.9% say yes. I'm sorry, say no. I'm cut it upside down. 76.9% say no, this is not a good strategy. And the rest, Pat Daniels, say it's a good strategy. And you say?
I think it's a good strategy until it's no longer a good strategy, Corn.
And when does it become no longer a good strategy?
Well, if they have a repeat of last season, you go 9-3, 10-3 again, people may start to question. They see some holes in your recruits or in your team, maybe lack of depth at a certain position where you maybe could have bolstered that through the transfer.
All right. Don't forget to follow our coverage of USC Clemson basketball tomorrow on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Thank you, Pat, and we'll see you Monday.